How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TableTakes. It's the best 4 days of gaming all year round. That's right. We are here with our favorite host. Unfortunately, Peter couldn't be here today, but thank you, Marcus, for filling in. Good to see you, Marcus. Also, we got the wonderful, luxurious Bonsai Baby and the mysterious Noir Enigma has joined us as well. So we are going to have a great show today. I hope you missed us. We skipped last week due to the holidays, but we got plenty of holiday stories to tell you. Starting with Bonsai, would you like to tell us how was your holiday weekend?
I had a very, very delicious holiday weekend. I made a meal for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We did surf and turf Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day is just lots of meat. More meat on meat. My heart is somehow still pumping. And also, I don't know if you know this, but Seattle had a ice problem over Christmas weekend. It was great. I didn't mind because I actually bought something called micro spikes and was not like other people sliding down hills. I actually had shoes that were spiked that I actually bought to go hiking in. But it was fun watching everybody else think that the roads were fine because they saw myself and my partner walking around. And they're like, oh, it's fine. And then we heard some people scream behind us as they attempted to go to the same path as we did. And we were oh no, we have micro spikes. Let us help you.
I need to give me some of those. I'd never heard of them before you introduced them to me. They would have been really useful for me over the weekend. Yeah, the ice is super dangerous. I'm glad you got through it all. Noir, what was your holiday like? How did you spend the time off?
Still recovering from being sick. I can tell you that I am no longer sick, so that's great.
Great.
Other than that, I just stayed in the apartment and was sad a lot.
Oh no. Was Anita there?
That's it.
No? Was Anita there with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you got some fun gifts or something to make it a little bit better.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Noir. I hope today we can lift your spirits. How's that sound?
Sure.
Okay, great. Marcus, why don't we move on to you? I hope your holiday was a little bit better. No? Okay.
But I'm really happy to be here on TableTakes today with these lovely people who we missed out last week. I think if I was actually doing TableTakes last week, it probably would have turned out better because we're filled of this great cheer, these lovely folks, and I'm doing okay.
What about you, Javion? How was your Christmas?
Yeah, Javion. Let's learn about your Christmas. How was your flight?
Oh my gosh, it was the best
Did you have a good
Christmas I've ever had. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
Must be nice.
I had a great time. Nothing to complain about at all. Well, I will say, I did hang out with some great friends. I went to a bar and got hit on by some weird guy. And I have a fox, a Lego fox from Minecraft as a gift that I was given, and some luggage. So
Minecraft's awesome, and I know how much you love it. So like, you can hop right into that and play, right?
Oh yes, I can just jump in anytime.
Yeah,
folks, I'm sorry.
Nothing bad ever happens in Minecraft, right?
Something tragic happened to me over the holidays.
Bonsai
has a very Bonsai has a very fun server, or at least she used to, before she ruined everything.
And we gotta update to 1.19 so we can have cooler chunk and more stuff, okay? Now we also have better tech things, so it's not
this is the price of evolution, and we all must pay it. Folks, I hope you're ready for some exciting board game news because, oh my goodness, over the last 2 weeks, we have collected so many exciting headlines. I'm sure you've even heard of a couple of them too. So we're just gonna hop right into it with our first headline. I'm gonna get us started with a very exciting board game that's coming pretty soon, actually. It's called Your Best Life. This is a flip and write game wherein you are tasked with managing the happiness and joy of the character that you're going to create at the table. So it uses a little dry erase board and markers, and you're going to flipping cards, selecting which cards you want to use each turn with the actions on them to help you build up your character and family unit. I think that this game is the perfect game for me to introduce our new segment of Table Takes called Javion's Soapbox. So I'm just really quickly going to adjust my chair here and get up a little bit higher just to make sure that I'm on my soapbox right now.
Oh, wow.
Folks, friends, distinguished guests, we need to stop using the term flippin' right. We need to start saying draw and draw. It rolls off the tongue. It instantly tells you everything you need to know about the game. And it's so much cleaner, I think. I came up with it. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. But I think if you're drawing and also drawing cards, it makes perfect sense. Anyway, that's just my little soapbox. I'll come back.
I agree. I actually agree with that.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
That sounds like it's a catchy name. It's fun. And you came up with it. So you get some credit, I assume.
Well, Marcus, I'm so glad to have you on my side. Thank you so much. Okay.
I will debate whether or not it should be draw and write versus draw and draw.
Draw and draw. It just makes. Hold on, I need to get back up here. Okay. Well, draw and draw is literally the same word twice. Okay, it's catchier. Okay, it's a little bit more. It's snazzier, right?
It's like D&D, just like D&D.
No, it's clever. It's clever.
It's a D&D type game. A draw.
Yeah, it's like a D&D. Yeah. Just start calling D&D.
Yeah, just call it D&D.
Why not draw squared?
Ooh,
Stop. No, don't encourage this. No, this is terrible.
This sounds like really good early 2000s marketing, like a really good early 2000s marketing meeting.
Nothing will ever beat draw and draw, and now we're moving on. So, during the game, you get to explore a number of self-improvements relating to lots of different categories of everyday life, such as creativity, friendship, nutrition, and education, and even, that's right, even romance, because what is life without love? So you get to play through all different aspects of life, even the excitement and luxury of going on vacations, the dynamic of having children, and inviting people to important life events and hoping that they show up. I wonder if they're also dealing with any like the topics of like death or like running a funeral or something like that. That's the one big problem I had with the game of life. They never talked about when you die. It's just like, oh, you retire with a bunch of money or you're like in college or something, and that's how you end the game. That just doesn't seem very final to me. A real game of life has, what is life without death?
They probably just didn't want to remind people of the ever-approaching inevitability of death while playing a game.
Well, then don't make your game about life if you're not ready to
if you're not willing to have the hard conversations. Listen, those Parker brothers need to be talked to.
I guess like the one would be like you're in college and then boom, suddenly your mother has cancer. You're gonna have to get out of college.
It's the game of life hard mode. You put it on the real.
They need to change the tagline. Life, nobody makes it out alive.
The game plays in about 45 minutes, and you can play with up to 4 players. And it's going to retail for about $30 once it's fully released in March 2023. So if you are looking for an alternative to the game of life that you think, well, maybe like the game of life was a little too simple and you needed less randomness, more card drawing specifically, then definitely check this one out when it releases. That's going to do it for that headline. We're going to roll right into our next headline, and boy, is it a doozy. Noir, tell us more.
Everyone dies at the end. Oh, wait, no, that's not my headline. I'm so sorry. My headline is WotC announces updates for the OGL for 1D&D. Thank you to J.R. Zabrano at Bell of Lost Souls for this story. So D&D, WotC announces big changes for the open gaming license in upcoming OGL 1.1. As 1D&D creeps closer and closer, WotC has made the visible steps towards monetizing D&D as a lifestyle brand and some sort of subscription service. And there are more and more questions about what's happening here. But that's still going to be covered in the OGL. WotC has stepped forward with some reassurances and some less than reassuring answers as well. To begin with, they say that one D&D content will be covered by the SRD and updated OGL version 1.1 in broad stroke terms. The answer is yes. So some big changes that will be coming to how commercial content is released under the OGL version 1.1. Let's see. So you're gonna need to tell WotC what kind of content you're selling under the OGL. You'll need to report all OGL related revenue each year if you make over $50,000 a year from it, and this includes a creator product badge on your products. Additionally, starting in 2024, any creator making over $750,000 a year in OGL related revenue, right now only 20 companies meet that bar, will need to pay WotC royalties. And on the one hand, this doesn't sound so bad. It still leaves room for indie creators and even some mid-sized publishers. But on the other hand, this does seem like the first move towards stifling the creation of like another Paizo or the like. So in layman's terms, if you are making third-party content for D&D, if your creations crosses over certain revenue thresholds, you are going to have to pay WotC for the right to have your third-party creation exist. This is targeting things like Kobo Press and Critical Role and the like. Those are some of the publishers that do make that much money off of the OGL. And just for a little brief history, I hope you guys don't mind me kind of getting into this.
Do it.
The OGL had a change before in 4th edition, where it was harder for indie companies to make content for 4th edition. So Paizo, who initially just created third-party content for D&D, went off and made their own system, which inevitably became Pathfinder. With these new changes that they're making to the OGL, it would be harder for a company to do something like that, because Paizo went and took the SRD and made their own system off of it, which has done extraordinarily well. Now, if another Paizo were to do the same thing, the second they hit that $750,000 mark, they would have to start paying WotC, which would theoretically hamper the growth of another Paizo, which I have thoughts about. But I'm starting to delve too much into my own opinion. I want to know if you guys have any thoughts on this, because I could keep going. Because
No, it makes sense. It's because like that, at least from a company's perspective, they thought they made their own competitor, and this is just like a way to still stay on top of the so and so, like top of the pyramid, as long as they can still like they don't want they like it's sad because I think competition is great. Competition is good. Competition makes it better for everybody. But from a company who's like, we need to be the one, the only, the OG, I can see like they just don't want to create another situation where they make their own competitor essentially. I think,
I kind of think this is doing that in a sense. I think from Hasbro and WotC's perspective, they're looking at Paizo and they're looking at Critical Role and they're seeing how much money these companies are making. They're looking at Kobo Press and they're seeing how much money these companies are making. And there's a feeling of they're making that money off of our creation. We should have our hand in that cookie jar too. But this is my personal opinion. D&D only flourishes because of third-party creators. The 5th edition on its own is not that impressive. Like I kind of feel as though 5th edition is kind of like a Bethesda game, kind of like Skyrim, which Skyrim in and of itself is fun, but it really gets amazing once the mods kick in. And that's why it's one of the most celebrated games in the world. And doing something like this, for now, indie creators are safe. They're not going to hit $750,000. But if they do, then it's just it gets a little dicey. And I feel like if you're going to put that worry in people's heads, they're just going to create their own things. I don't think Critical Role has a publisher to just make the Ukatoa board game. I think at some point Critical Role is going to start from scratch and have their own system, and they should if they have to pay a tax to use the SRD. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I don't like where this is going. I feel like this is kind of against the spirit of what made D&D great in the first place.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
for
ahead,
me,
Jan.
just a counterpoint to that. I think that as a company, as a reputation, I think this might be a better move than just allowing sort of free reign. Perhaps it could be adjusted. I will consider that, but I think that they have a responsibility to the name that they've built for themselves as a massive staple in the community. I mean, think about how many times people have talked about D&D being their introduction to RPGs in general. And I also think that with all of these changes that they're making, I think they've shown us time and time again how receptive they are to feedback. So if there is any worries or concern about like a slippery slope or something like that, I'm pretty confident that WotC will still continue to listen as people show what changes they're looking for, or what kinds of things that they're not comfortable with changing in terms of how they run their business. I think they're doing what's in their best interest from a taking care of their own standpoint, I suppose. Marcus, what were you going to say?
No, really, you kind of covered a lot of the questions I had, but pretty much everyone covered a lot of the thoughts that I had. My positive, taking it from something that we don't have any control in, my positive is that it's not going after small creators at the moment. It's still open. When I first read this, the alarms went up where I was like, okay, are they not allowing third-party stuff at all? But going to the article, $75K a year is not a lot. 20 companies only meet that bar. Like you said, there could be a slippery slope. There is a nerve that they start lowering that and lowering that and lowering that. But D&D, like Javion was also saying, Wizards can be very sensitive to public backlash. They whether it's being forced to change things or they listen. Those are two interesting sides of this. I'm hoping for the best out of this. I don't know a lot about the third-party market with D&D. But yeah, I don't have much more to add other than I'm glad I have you three here who are smart with your good brains.
I think, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to add one more thing. Is just that I think the only thing that we should just mainly establish is that, for the longest time, like for 20 to 15 years, they did not change the OG or the OG, like the open gaming license. So we had that established, like we got this board, no one's going to touch it. It's the basic plan. But now with WotC's establishing that they can and are willing to change the contract now, it's no longer an untouchable thing. Right. That's the only thing that I am in terms of thinking, like negative neutral comment, or like it's just that they are now establishing that they are willing to change things that they have stated in the past before and can change it just out of the blue. Be like, all right, yeah, this is what we're doing.
At least when it comes
like
to
a precedent for change, yeah.
Yeah, a precedent for change.
You're actually leading into like the last point that I wanted to make, which is like this is kicking the beehive. And it's fine to kick the beehive if you're the baddest dude on the block. But the thing is, Jamie, you were talking about how a lot of people say that, D&D was their intro into the tabletop community. Well, a lot of people discovered D&D through Critical Role. And this is a direct action against that brand. So, like I said, I don't believe Darrington Press exists to make Ukatoa. I don't believe they exist to make like little, like one-off games. I believe at some point it makes more fiscal sense for Critical Role to come out with their own TTRPG from scratch. And this if anything, I feel accelerates that. And then we have to ask the question, are critters more loyal to D&D
Yeah,
or are they more loyal to Critical Role?
that's a
And
really good
that's
question.
and that
probably Critical Role.
schism I think is going to be really interesting in this space. And I feel like that's a schism that did not need to occur. But once you kick the hornet's nest, or once you even threaten to kick the hornet's nest, then you get people thinking. And like, I don't think these big publishers go quietly. I don't think they just pay this tax quietly. They if like again using the theoretical, if Critical Role makes their own system and they have an open SRD, what's to stop Cobalt Press from going, we're not making anything for D&D 1 anymore. We're making things for this new system. What's to stop all the third partiers from stopping D&D 1 and going to that new thing?
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I don't think that is actually a feasible option for every third partier out there. I think using D&D's huge reputation, its massive size, is a huge draw for people to come to these third party companies. Not everybody has the capacity to flip ship and start crowdfunding some new product that they've created for themselves and guarantee or expect huge margins from it.
I agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to get onto Bonsai said something that was interesting to me earlier about the like you talked about kicking the hornet's nest. Bonsai also talked about competition being good. This sounds like, because my money is not in Wizards of the Coast, my money is not in Critical Role, my money is in buying these games. So as someone, if there's a chance of a better game being made out there that fits more things, I am super on board for it. I would love for there to be more competition. But I wanted to get back on. I'm jumping around. Go ahead, Noir. You were making a point.
I just again I keep saying this my last point, but I think that's a very great point. I think that's a great point, Javion. It's very interesting, the question of where is the majority of the community's loyalty? Is it Critical Role or is it D&D? And I think if Critical Role makes a new system, they have the advantage of having a large fan base, as well as no longer carrying the stigma that D&D has carried for so long. We can't forget about all of the controversies that D&D has been dealing with, even as recently as the Spelljammer, the Spelljammer issue. And Darrington Press has really talented game designers on tap. They've got like Gabe James Games. They've got Matt Mercer. Like I'm very curious to see what happens next, because I think whatever happens is going to be huge. And I think it's going to be really good for the space. But that's the last point. I think this was a great conversation, though.
It was a great conversation.
That was like genuinely the two points. The D&D's using both sides of D&D's baggage, the good baggage and the bad baggage. So like D&D does come with its own set of baggage on either side. It does have the brand recognition. It is the Superman of D&D, where you go anywhere and most people know what D&D is or Dungeons and Dragons is. They've heard of that, even if they've never played the game, even if they don't know what RPGs are. They've heard the word Dungeons and Dragons. It has brand power there.
Yeah. And go ahead.
No, Jivian, you go first.
Well, I was going to actually just throw it to the audience, and I was just going to say, for all of you that are watching and listening, it's really a question for you of, do you think that the industry standard being followed by, asking for royalties when your system is being used to make, hundreds of thousands of dollars, is that worth it? Or do you see WotC as more of the kind of company that can make their own rules, make their own changes, and doesn't have to follow those same standards? Bonsai, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, I was just saying, other than, like, of course, I love D&D. I started out with D&D, but we could also jump to other systems like Theater of the Mind, Forged in the Dark kind of thing, where it's more of like, you don't have to really think of the rules, because then it puts too many people in a box, versus just being like, I'm going to sit down and tell a narrative story with my friends, and then maybe occasionally roll some dice, but it's mostly about the storytelling aspect of it.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In chat, someone mentioned a good point that we actually didn't touch on. How much of this actually has to do with Hasbro, not necessarily Wizards as well, because Hasbro is, they're already, fighting with Bank of America over printing too many D&D cards, apparently, or
Yeah,
two
true.
D&D cards, Magic cards. Yeah, I belong on this show. Magic cards. All those D&D
No,
cards you kids
there
love.
are D&D Magic cards, so you're not wrong.
There's
Yeah.
everything Magic cards, including one that we get. I see that would be good if I was hosting. I could transition to another topic that would fit, but it doesn't. We're not doing that. So, yeah, no, I am really glad we had this conversation about this, guys.
Me
Yeah.
too. I think that it's definitely an ongoing conversation. I think we all knew that things like this were going to pop up back when Hasbro and WotC announced that they were going into business together. And I know with any new product, any new version of D&D, there's always going to be things like this.
Mhm.
So I'm confident that we're going to keep getting more information as we go along and just keep on having the conversations so that we don't get lost in the weeds. So let's just go ahead and move on to a little bit more D&D news. And Marcus, why don't you take over?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. So everyone knows this. So there is the new D&D cartoon. Not new D&D cartoon. There was an old D&D cartoon about 40 years ago that aired on CBS's Saturday morning cartoon lineup from 1983 to 1985. Of course, it featured characters like Bobby the Barbarian, Presto the Magician, and Diana the Acrobat. Classic names. But what's coming back, what is interesting about this is it's actually returning in a 4-issue IDW comic series. It's being pitched as a lost episode of the original cartoon. So I'm already invested because I love the concept of lost episodes in media. It's going to be a 4-issue miniseries. The whole gang is going to be there, and they are going to be going after their old foe, Vangar. This is being written by Marvel Action Captain Marvel, David M. Boomer, and George Kambadias art, who also did amazing art on I'm trying to remember. They did the most recent iteration of a comic that I was just reading, but fantastic art, really cool. If you're a fan of the old D&D series or the old animated series and you want to kind of relive some of that, get some nostalgia going, I would say definitely check this out. It should be in comic book stores probably next year. It'll probably be a little bit, but check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we should all take a look at like comics that are based on the fantasy RPGs and things like that because it's really prime real estate.
Yeah.
I never watched any of the D&D cartoons. I mean, I missed out on the D&D movie when that came out or when it was like being popularized.
I know, you should have saw it. Jeremy Irons. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of neck acting in that movie.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know of all of us. You have talked the most about the old D&D movie. It's very, very close to it. But what about the animated series? Did you watch any of that?
I did watch a little bit of that. It's funny. I have like a pack of stickers with all these characters.
Wow.
It's D&D in name only. Really.
Oh, really?
It's a CBS 80s cartoon.
Yeah, they don't adhere to any of the rules, from advanced to second edition to 3.5, fourth or fifth edition. They just start wilding, but it's a fun cartoon, very much in the spirit of like He-Man and what's the cat He-Man? Like what's the
Thundercats.
Thundercats. Yeah, I had to sing the song to remember the name. Thundercats.
Oh.
Well, then what's your speculation on the comic series then, Nora? Do you think that they're going to continue ignoring mechanics and things like that from D&D, or they're going to integrate that a little bit more?
It's very funny because my opinion on this plays very much into our previous topic. They are slapping D&D on anything and everything, and they're milking it, and I don't love it. This doesn't need to exist. Like listen. I would much rather them bring back the old cartoons on like a streaming service or something so we could watch that.
Do like an X-Men 96 where they go back and redo the series.
Essentially, I would like. I don't know that there's any place to watch the original cartoon, so it doesn't make sense
It's probably on
to
like
have
Tubi or something.
yeah, it doesn't make sense to have a lost episode of something we can't watch the original of. D&D
So you-
Transformer Dice was a low play. Listen, you stole the thought right out of my head. Like, I just, listen, we're getting a movie, we're getting magic cards, we're getting this comic book.
You nerds
So-
get
so
everything
for
you
you,
want and
it's-
just complain.
you-
All of you nerds are so whiny about these. The thing I love is getting more things and different flavors and various
You know what
interests.
I want a spiritual weapon, not to be a concentration
Oh.
state. I want my
Bonsai.
smites
Bonsai.
on crits back. That's what I want.
Bonsai,
All right.
what's your take on this?
My take on this is going to be actually because I'm going to go ultra nerd on this. So I have been obsessed over time on trends and stuff, and especially stuff with Hasbro and how trends come and go in the 80s. I see this as their attempt, because with, like, especially if you're Hasbro, at least for what I understand, watching a lot of these shows and doing some research behind it, is that when they take a product, they want to make it a meme. They want to make it the new trend. So this is just steps I see, to make sure that they get more bucks for their investment, because they want it to be the new, like, how like Game of Thrones was a thing for a little while, and then everybody was into zombies. This is just like they're seeing that they have a product, they can make a lot of money, which is great, because I would like all these products. I don't care. I want those McDonald's, like, you guys are like, oh, Transformer dice. McDonald's,
and they're charging
McDonald's
you
toys.
a full value meal price for them.
That being said, I also want to announce that George Cambadeus, whose name I said incorrectly, their art's amazing. That's pretty much the cool reason I'm looking forward to some of the arts from this D&D comic book. I like graphic artists. I like people who get to use their art and decide what things look like. He's a cool artist. Check his stuff out. That's what I got. I like art. I like art. I'm fine with art.
But yes.
I absolutely agree, Marcus. And you know what? I think that more than any cartoons that I've been watching, I have been into graphic novels and comic books. So this is definitely something that I would be way more interested in taking a look at than an animated series that came out a while ago. So I guess for me personally, I would prefer an adaptation of something rather than a reboot of something. So like remastering something to look nicer, or, casting new voice actors or something like that to recreate something. That's okay. But I would prefer something like this. A new interpretation is, I think, at least a little bit more original. Anyway, that's going to do it for that headline. And we're going to jump into some more WotC news. It's a little bit of Magic the Gathering coming to us from Bonsai. Take it away.
Yes, and this is thank you to Charlie Hall of Polygon for bringing us this article. So, hey, I don't know if you guys know this particular comic book artist called Junji Ito from Japan. Very famous graphic artist who makes a lot of very moist-looking horror characters that are very stretchy. I actually have a huge collection of the comic books, but the comic books are upstairs. I would run up and grab it, but I'm lazy. So Wizard of the Coast invited the legendary Japanese horror manga artist Junji Ito back for more Magic the Gathering art. They did a limited time series of a Secret Lair drop in October. Ito has been tapped in one more time by okay, hold on, I cannot pronounce this name. Feruxa. All will be one. The first set of the year 2023. Wizards made an announcement Tuesday, basically on the weekly Magic the Gathering streaming broadcast, that they're going to be bringing them back. If you click on the link that we just posted, you can kind of see one of the cards that is going to be available. It's, if you don't know Junji Ito's arts, it's very black and white, very harsh lines, and also, like I said, very moist looking characters a lot of times. One of the famous, at least in terms of Reddit and on the internet, one of the most famous stories that he released is "This is my hole." I don't know if that's exactly the title. It makes sense if you know the comic book.
I am
good.
begging someone to clip that.
It is the thing though. It's a story about how there's an earthquake, and then there's like these people-shaped holes in the mountain, and everyone found their perfect body match hole, and they would go in it and never be seen again. It's a great story. But yes, it's a really great artist. He's like on the same level. At least a lot of people view him as the same level as, of course, Ghibli Studios. Just in the opposite, you know how Ghibli is fantasy, fun, and positivity. He's more of grim, dark, and lots of darkness, and everything is which is great because as a person he's actually like, oh, the world is great and sun shines, but
He loves cats,
he
too.
draws such terrible horror stories that have almost a Cthulhic like end majority of the time, where you cannot escape your fate and everyone's going to die.
I think my favorite thing about Junji Ito is how much like visual his horror is just so nasty. His drawings range from just disgusting, confusing, disorienting lines and negative space work, and then he also just draws really cute pictures of cats because he loves cats. Bonsai, I am not muted, but thank you for checking in.
Okay.
I was muted before, but now I'm not.
Okay, cool.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned this already, Bonsai, but it looks like the set has some other really exciting stuff too. A bunch of planeswalkers, and what is this new card art? I'm seeing, what is it? Oil slick is what they're calling it.
Yep.
That looks so cool.
Well, it makes sense. Like I told you, his art is very moist, black and white. It is. If you know the art, you don't see Noir shaking his head a bunch, but like it is. If you look up the art of Junji Ito, it's moist, black and white. That's what it is.
Well, it's beautiful.
There's certainly a moistness to that. I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine like trying to show somebody Magic the Gathering for the first time and putting this on the table, and they're like, "Yeah, I can see why you said this is a very expensive game. This looks expensive as heck." But no, this is just some of the new cards, the new foil treatment that some of the mana cards will get in this set. That's really cool, and they're gonna reveal it on this, or did they already reveal it on the stream? Yeah, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah,
well,
so you guys look forward to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really exciting. Be sure to keep an eye out for that. And let's move on to our final headline for our headline segment. Looks like there is a new board game called Sabika that is going to be releasing soon through Asmodee. I'm a huge, huge fan of Asmodee's games. I have several of them on my many, many bookshelves. And this looks like a great one to add to the collection. So in Sabika, you are a noble of the Nazrid. You're looking to gain prestige by assisting in the construction of big, magnificent towers and gardens and palaces of the Alhambra, while simultaneously overseeing the development of trade routes between Europe and Maghreb. Trade routes and trading and building palaces, all things we've seen in board games before. Very exciting stuff. But it always lends itself very well to beautiful tapestries and exciting opportunity to add new mechanics or try out new systems for your board game. So while you're trying to arrange tribute payments to the Catholic monarchs in exchange for military protection, you'll be playing over 5 rounds called eras, and actions in the game are controlled by a trio of rondels. One of my favorite games that I have on my shelf actually is called Stoffer Dynasty, and a lot of games like that use rondels, these sort of lazy Susans, these little turnstiles that you move on the board, and you can like sort of swivel them around like a dial and change the way the board looks. Maybe play like Zolkin and things like that. They're really fun. Each of the rondels oversees a different area, either construction of the Alhambra, decorating all of its halls, or just exporting all of the goods that you are collecting. And when the last era ends, whoever has the most prestige is the winner. So it's a very classic style game of 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and plays in about an hour and a half. It's probably going to retail around $60 when it does release in January 6th. So it's coming out pretty soon. With the holiday season sort of wrapping up and board games having been released for Christmas, and there was a little bit of a lull now, I'm really excited to see more games like this being released into the market and seeing what 2023 has in store for us, because We love the award shows, and we always talk about the awards that are given away for like new board games that are coming out. So I'm always keeping my eye out. This one looks really cool. It's got a very dynamic design, and you can't really go wrong when you're putting in place an economy system in your game that fits really well with the theme, and it's a very, very thematic game. So I'm excited to see more about it. Have you all played games with like trade routes and things like that, or do you just get bored of like Euro style stuff like that?
I'm pretty new to board games in general, like non-traditional board games, so I don't think I've ever played one of those.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few that I might be able to introduce to you. Lagrange, or just like a lot of games like Azul might even be.
See,
like,
Azul's one that will
I like
Azul's
Azul.
one that will get me into it because I own Azul. I've just never played it. I just love the way it looks.
Yeah, you got to start
Mhm.
somewhere, and then you find yourself building huge like castles and tapestries and things like that. What about you, Bonsai Noir?
Oh, I love resource gathering and building, engine building kind of games where you just like make monster towers. It's also why I'm obsessed with like games like SimCity and stuff like that, where you can just gather those resources. So I'm excited. I also just like, other than it being a city, I also like other things that are resource management that isn't just building cities, like for example building zoos, building malls, and just being able to allocate resources to make the most successful thing you can. I do love it. I do like, with that, I do want to step away from like the very Eurocentric kind of themes to it, because that could be problematic in its own way. That's why I'm like, hey, let's go ahead and just do like, I am a toy maker and I want to make the most successful toy company. Or I've been seeing a lot of resource management games that are like building my fabric company or my Etsy company kind of thing. So
Less colonization, more
more building things.
I don't really have an answer to your question, but I do have a question for your question. Would you consider Monopoly a resource gathering game?
Oh
No, I would not. So here's why. It's too focused on one specific resource, which is the actual property, to actually feel like a resource gathering game. Because you could argue that you're collecting lots of money, but that money can only be used for one thing. So it's a little too directly related one to one. Now, if they added in other things that you can use for bonuses, like special dice rolls or being able to trade or like force trades or things like that, I think then it becomes a resource gathering game or just resource management. But I guess in a very loose term, I suppose you could consider it. But the houses, hotels, sure.
I genuinely don't have a stake in the race. I was very curious about that because as we were kind of describing these other games, I'm like, Monopoly kind of fits a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a resource gathering kind of guy. My favorite board games are like, well, you know what? I think I am, but I have to pivot to Javion's expertise again. Would you consider something like Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror a resource gathering game?
No.
I think so. I think they have enough
because you have to get certain resources in order to stop the great old one from coming. So in that case, then yeah, I am a fan, but it does have to have a skin or like a narrative that draws me in.
Now talking about this a little bit more, I think the Splendor qualifies. That's a game that I've played. Does that qualify? That's a qualifier. Is that something?
Yeah.
Because you're getting different pieces and stuff.
The important thing you got to remember is variety. Mm-hmm. If there's enough variety of resources, you're pretty much golden. But if you're playing a game where you're literally just collecting one type of thing, like victory points or I don't know, brains or something like that, then it's probably safe to say you're not collecting resources, but resource. That makes sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense perfectly. Yeah.
Well, that's gonna do it for our headlines today. Thank you all so much, but stick around. We got way more Javion talking at you because it's our favorite segment. Actually, Bonsai, will you introduce, please?
It's a bundle boss, a Javion. Come and give us our bundles hot.
Wow, thank you. And there's music too. I don't even know where that came from. That was excellent.
I'm
Yes.
learning the harmonica.
Oh,
Ooh.
thank you. This is awesome. Okay, yes, folks, I hope you are ready for our bundle today because do we have a doozy for you? This one comes to us from bundleofholding.com as usual. And perhaps you've heard of a Fate bundle before. Perhaps you've heard of the Fate core system, but you've never heard of a Fate core system bundle like this. Because not only in this bundle do you get everything you need to play the Fate system, fast-paced, action-packed, flexible RPG system. No, not only do you get all of that at a discounted rate that should be criminal, you also get more than 50 ready to play campaign settings. That's right, 50. It'll keep you busy for years at an unbeatable bargain price. For just $10, you get all 8 of the complete rule books and supplements in the Offers Toolkit collection, which is
Just $10.
yeah, just $10 at a retail value of $52. You get DRM free ebooks, including the core system, the accelerated system, the condensed rule books, as well as system, adversary, horror space, and accessibility rules expansion. All 5 of the core Fate toolkit expansions. Now, if you bump yourself up a little bit to $35.39, you'll level up and you'll get the entire world's compendium with 57 more games and supplements worth an additional $283 worth of content. You get
What a deal.
You get Fate of Cthulhu. You get all 6 titles in the Tachyon Squadron space opera line. You even get the full-size campaign supplements, Shadow of the Century, Young Centurions, and the Kaiju Incorporated. There's so much more content that you will basically never run out of it. Fate RPGs use fudge dice, which is available from Evil Hat Productions as Fate dice at hobby gaming stores or from Amazon. So if you're looking to pick up some dice, you'll know where to grab it. You can learn more about the offer at the Bundle of Holding official blog Beyond the Bundle or on the Bundle of Holding subreddit. Now, as always, there is a charity that you are going to be helping donate to with each purchase. That's right, 10% of your payment after gateway fees is going to be going to the Diana Jones Award Emerging Designer Program. For those of you who don't know, we talk about it every year. The Diana Jones Award for Excellence in Gaming is a 501c3 nonprofit that amplifies the voices of up-and-coming game designers by featuring them during an all-expenses-paid visit to Gen Con.
Woo!
It's to Gen Con. So if you are interested in supporting a volunteer program that we love, then please check out the Toolkit collection and see just how much content is waiting in store. You got 19 days left to jump on this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Don't miss out.
Hey, J-Con, that's us.
Yep, that's right. Well, with that out of the way, we are going to dive right into the massive pool of crowdfunders, and we're going to get started with Bonsai because I am tired of talking my head off. Bonsai,
All right.
what is the next hottest crowdfunder?
Okay, so this was a crowdfunder that I'm bringing back because I ended up backing it, and they're going to do one every year. So this is the Quest Calendar by Sundial Games. If you aren't familiar, they do a Kickstarter every year at the beginning of the year to fund their next installment of Quest Calendar, which is a solo RPG that you can do by flipping and ripping a page one a day of an adventure. You get a character, you get a set of dice, you get like stats and everything. So you just peel off and see what the adventure holds for you. I have my 2023 calendar. So I'm very excited. It was, of course, their first few games started, of course, when I believe they started in 2020, was fantasy. The 2021 was more of a planescape. This one, oh my God, please don't break things. This is sci-fi based, so I'm not actually too sure if they'll probably release in the next few months of what their next campaign for the next 2024 would be like. But if you want to have something that's nice, one adventure you can do every day, or you could be like me and do once a week, and you don't want to have a GM or anybody else play with you, this is the game for you. I really like Sundial Games. It's no longer Kickstarter right now. I'm just saying, look forward to them. They're a good company. You want to buy it. And if you can't get your hands on the physical copy, you can get the PDF on their website that I linked in chat. So Quest Calendar 2023.
Bonsai, I am very much looking forward to regular updates on your space escapades. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I've got 2 big old Kickstarters that I think y'all are going to love, especially if you are fans of the Valeria franchise. That's right. Valeria is getting yet another addition to their quality legacy of board games. This next one is called Guild Academies of Valeria. That's right, you're going to be running your own adventuring academy. You've waged wars and tended crops, killed for coin, and received visions from the holy martyr Aquila. You've mastered the principles of every guild and devoted your life to Valeria, but now it's time to go back to school and teach all the students and collect all your professors and create the best environment where students can learn from very, very realistic real world situations. So you're going to be having your students learn courses, collect more knowledge for you on behalf of their instructors, who are going to be passing on as much knowledge as they can on down to them. You're going to try to upgrade them into adventuring heroes that will go on to spread your legacy for generations to come. You've got giant game board and tons of custom dice with all the signature Valeria content you could ask for. It is a very exciting addition. You've got a huge board that everybody's playing on at the same time, but you've also got your own cards to manage and your own tableau that you're trying to increase value in or increase influence with. It's got so much content. You should definitely check out the art here in the Kickstarter if you want to learn more. But there's way more to this Kickstarter than meets the eye, because not only are they announcing a new game, but there's also a new expansion and 2 reprints for the critically acclaimed Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. That's right, they're reprinting Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria and the first expansion, Rise of Titans, so you can get a copy if you missed out on the first printing. But they're also unveiling the new expansion, Riftlands. Riftlands is a gloomier, sort of darker look at the Shadow Kingdoms of Valeria. It's got plenty of new content, and it's so exciting to see all the new ways that they're adding in plenty of new monsters and ways for you to crank up all of the powers that you're upgrading on your player board to 11. It's giving an overlay with unique asymmetric powers, which we all love in board games, as well as access to 30 unique relic powers to further customize your path to victory. There are plenty of levels of pledge where you can upgrade all the different deluxe components for your board games when they finally arrive in a year or 2. And it looks like it's ending in 6 days. You got plenty of time to jump onto it if you want to learn more. But that's not all. I've got another Kickstarter, a solo TTRPG experience for those of you out there like me who don't always have time to sit down for a long RPG, and you got that itch and you're walking throughout your day and you want to play some RPG. Well, guess what? This one's called Cord. It's a solo RPG that fits on a business card. It's small enough to fit in your pocket. So while you're out on the go and you got your little, pocket size business card RPG out, all you need is a pencil, a paper, and some creativity. Maybe a D6, or I suppose you can find something on your phone. But it's very small size, and they've already increased their expectations of $100 14,000 times. So it's very exciting to see. It's a very small system based off of making choices on whether or not you're going to seek out gold or if you're going to spend that gold. So it's sort of a back and forth of like collecting it by going adventuring, spending it on life essential items. It's a very cool system. It looks like it's by a very cool independent designer named Caleb Engelke. I think I said that wrong. Engelke. I always love to support independent RPG designers, so definitely check this out. You only got 30 hours left to go, and I've already backed it. It's only $6, so what else are you going to do with $6, right? It's the price of a cup of coffee. Might as well get an RPG. All right, and finally, I see the best for last. we've got a 5e campaign setting. Well, who put this one on?
It was me.
Yeah.
I saw everybody in the chat confused, and I was just like, yes, suffer. Hello, everybody. How's it going? I've got a Kickstarter to tell you about. It's called Silver Plate, a tasty campaign setting for 5e. Did you watch Dimension 20's A Crown of Candy and go, man,
Yes.
I too would like to have a campaign based around food. I would like to beat with meat. Well, let me help you here. We have a campaign that's set in a brutal, glamorous, and scrumptious land of Silver Plate. From the Sunday Mountains all the way to the Mushroom Forest, the plate is filled with food folk, edible creatures who've been burned, filleted, poached, and boiled, but managed to survive through it all. Will you join them in the throes of the turning points in the history of Silver Plate? Silver Plate is the food folk setting for 5e. All the realms are made up of various food people and animals, as well as a range of ingredients. In this setting, you'll get to play as the food or drink of your choice as you face challenges in this appetizing but also brutal realm. I listen. The art on this is the only way I can describe it is if you looked at a restaurant menu that was drawn by artists that played way too much Dark Souls. It's really awesome. Like they've got like this hot dog monk dude, and it is, listen, there's 5 days left for you to get in on this. You gotta do it. They have 60 monsters, 10 NPCs, 12 archetypes, 30 plus magic items. You know, you can cook yourself a hero is the tagline. Get in on this.
I mean,
you can
monk,
be a deadly shake.
This monk,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this hot dog monk. This hot dog monk is incredible looking. Look at this
Wait,
art.
we can recreate Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
We actually
Oh, you
could
can. It
Yes, you
is.
can.
in more
And
than
not
theory.
only-
Or this barbarian donut, though. You know,
That's pretty
barbarian
good.
donut.
Oh, I do like that corn ranger.
Corn
know,
range.
They have different religions: the baker, the cook, and the great eater. Religion plays an important role for food folk. It's as such, there are plenty of temples and shrines in Silver Plate. The folk here are faithful. Many pray and make sacrifices for their deities, while some cities are overrun with followers of the goddess of utensils. The wilderness is teeming with the cultists of the god of waste and pest. Some say there are higher powers in motion, cosmic entities known to the people of Silver Plate as the cook, the baker, and the all of which are feared and respected the great eater. You got listen, this is
fantastic.
creative, it's funny. There are tons of popular culture there's tons of pop culture brands that use food as storytelling devices, and you can recreate that with this system. So get in on it.
Happy
Beach with
holidays,
meat.
everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show today. We had a blast bringing you some Kickstarters, but don't go anywhere because we got even more Table Takes goodness coming right after this. We've got Table Takes game night, where this week I'll be challenging all of my nerdy friends here to some nerd trivia. Let's see who knows the most nerdy games or nerdy sci-fi comics or what have you. We're gonna be having a lot of fun. But don't go anywhere after that either, because right afterwards at 5 p.m. We're gonna have some more joyful gaming with, you guessed it, Sarah's Table, for another exciting RPG session. For those of you who don't know our schedule already, on Mondays we've got board games with the brothers Mirth. We're gonna be joining brothers Nick and Mike for more board game goodness, as well as at 6 p.m. Dress to Quest is returning at a new time. That's right, 6 p.m. Don't miss it. And on Wednesdays, we've got Actoroki at 6 p.m. as well as Thursday. We usually have Blood on the Clock Tower if you're looking for a game to join. It's super fun. And of course, at 4 p.m. on Thursdays, we've got Roll with Rem Alternates. We got interviews
I'm
with
in there.
creators and developers of Shadowrun. That's insane. That's so crazy. I can't wait to see it. And of course, on Fridays, we've got TableTakes Game Night, and Sarah's Table. Now, remember, if you miss any of our programming, you can always check the VODs 24 hours later, or just follow us here so you never miss a stream of Gen Con TV for the best 4 days in gaming all year long. Thanks to all of our viewers. Thanks to all of the hosts. And we'll see you in just a bit. Stick around.